Okay, so I was going to change the dialogue a little and talk more about what is success when it comes to open source projects. So a lot of the time people are talking about the mechanics of open source projects, which is important, but also there is a lot that needs to be explored about, like, what are we actually considering success as a community. But real quick, I work at the University of California. I mean, everybody here probably knows the University of California is big. We have 10 campuses, 5 medical centers. My organization is the California Digital Library. We work across all of the entire UC system. We have 4 main programs. We are a publishing library, so we are involved in, like, the Editoria project of doing book publishing. We also publish about 80 journals. I work leading the program that's called the University of California Curation Center. And what our focus is more on research data. So how do we help with digital preservation and the management of data? We are involved in a lot of metrics projects around how to think about recording the reach of research data. And we're also very involved in the persistent identifier community. And I'm specifically here to talk about one of our projects, which is a project that we call Dash, which is a very traditional data publishing system. And I say traditional in the sense that there aren't a lot of them out there, but it's very easy for you to kind of visualize what the process would be. A researcher comes in, they enter their information about themselves, they upload a file, and they receive a landing page that can be cited. It was built in response to the fact that a lot of the other systems were very clunky. A lot of the other systems took a lot of time for people on the back end to administer, and also on the front end, users were not interested in it, like in the way that it was designed. We wanted to build something that was modular and nimble, so we could innovate, and we wanted to make sure that it was standards-based, so that we weren't trying to always retrofit our system like a lot of others. Trying to retrofit the need for, this time we need to put in ORCID support, this time we need to put in FunRef support, this time we need to talk about ontologies. We wanted to do that kind of build a platform that was nimble and you could plug those things in pretty easily. Also, as I was saying before, we are a specialized team thinking about data publishing. And so we also wanted to start to think about how do we build something that is for data publishing. A lot of what we were doing was being used, taking components from other projects, but that was not specialized for what our use cases were. And so we built this as an open source project, right? And you probably have not heard of Dash. It's not like it's not on billboards. And so we would say, what is then success for the Dash project? A lot of people, when they think about open source projects, they think that the success must be that there's going to be a lot of pull requests, there's going to be a lot of commits, that the goal of open source projects should first and foremost be that developers being leveraged across distributed teams. And while that is definitely a success metric, we have personally not had any pull requests from anybody. So I would say that there are other, and the reason why I wanted to do this presentation today is to talk about what are the other success metrics that exist. One of the ones for us is more around, as being part of an academic institution, it's the transparency of our roadmaps, the ability for people to see into what we're working on and what we plan on working on, and seeing how we change over time. Also, one of the key focuses of the Dash platform was around usability. It was around user testing, thinking about how we could iterate and make the system better for end users. And by being open with the roadmap and the coding, we could actually be able to be much more iterative and nimble and transparent when we were we were coding against user testing results. Another one, of course, is adoption. A lot of people want to say, well, who's using this? What is this? For us, we have had a very hard time getting adoption because we've been focusing specifically on University of California. But when we started to look at bench metrics of other systems similar to this, we were realizing that proprietary systems had a similar load as us. We were thinking, okay, wow, we thought we were down here at a very, couple thousand submissions kind of a level, and we look at other for-profit or proprietary systems, and it's very similar. What has allowed us to be transparent about this is that we can be open and talk about what are some of our challenges. The trust of the community is important, the ability to change and innovate over time, but really the ability for everybody to be, again, open, honest, and be active about talking about what are we working on, what is our situation, how is our roadmap being developed, and what is our plans for the future. And so it's this value for us that has actually been the most important, being open to partnerships. And so obviously at the University of California, we have limited resources. We're, like all organizations. And the idea of open source was the promise of being able to leverage the community. And in some ways, in some people's views, that should have been in the idea that there were developers coming in and doing pull requests and being very active. For us, what has happened is that it's been more about this idea of partnerships and building connections with other projects at a more business level. So how many people here know what Dryad is? So we recently started working directly with Dryad, and today we did an announcement that we're starting a formal partnership with Dryad. So Dryad is a community leader in this space. They have the goodwill of a lot of the research community and the publisher community on being an open, friendly data publishing platform. But they have actually struggled in the past for figuring out how to manage their technical roadmap and what they want to do with their technical platform. But they, again, have been very successful on other portions of this success metrics. With adoption, their adoption has been much higher than ours. Their reach is much higher. And they've also been able to think a lot more about the user. While the technology has not been user-friendly in the sense that it's not pretty, the technology has definitely been much more in the researcher workflow, right? You're publishing an article, and you are asked about publishing a data set. And so we have, with our Dash platform, we will be retrofitting and utilizing the Dash platform, one that is much more nimble and forward-thinking for the Dryad service going forward. And this is very much complementary to not just what we do within our open source projects at CDO. We have a variety of kind of global and national partnerships and strategic initiatives that we work on across many different sectors. But really our goal will be to build a low-cost or no-cost open source community-built data publishing platform that actually can help drive adoption. The concept will be that we want to have a Dryad system that's utilizing the Dash technology, utilizing the kind of connections that Dryad has already created and beefing those up, allowing for researchers to submit directly within their publishing workflows, opening this up to UC researchers, but also researchers beyond, leveraging the core competencies of the rest of our organization, so through the curation networks that we have and the libraries that we have on campuses, but also making sure that we can fulfill what we're meant to do, which is help UC's researchers publish their data. And so we'll be going through and finding ways for us to kind of continue that idea of being open to partnerships. So we have announced our joint partnership together, but we also are in the process of building out a set of community workshops. So bringing together publishers and institutions to actually talk about what feature sets would be essential for this type of service, what kind of API calls would be better for helping manage the workflows between Dryad and publishers. And really being able to say that we can have Dryad and the publishing space leverage kind of modern best-of-breed technologies. So instead of sending emails back and forth about what's going on, being able to actually do API integrations, curation layers for librarians to be able to jump in and help with data curation topics for researchers on their campuses. Metrics, as we were talking about, being able to pull in data metrics and being able to think about what is the future of tracking usage and downloads of research data. And also just being able to be part of the larger scholarly communications process. So through different login mechanisms like ORCID or a campus login, but also just being able to know that we can move quickly to address the next emerging needs. So for us, again, we may not ever get another pull request from a stranger off the street, But for us, what has been successful for us is that we've been able to kind of open ourselves up and be able to be part of a discussion that has resulted in a partnership. So there's more information there, and that's it.